Afternoon guys, a couple of days after my last video, and I got an exciting piece of mail today. And although I've now put in tons of fig cuttings, I wanted to focus on this one in particular. This is one that I just got off eBay the other day, and it is by far the most expensive fig cutting that I've ever bought. So this stick alone cost 200 bucks on eBay. It's an ultra rare variety of fig. It's very similar to the panache fig in many ways, in that it's a variegated fig. However, it is a variegated black fig. Now, it starts off as a green and yellow striped fig, or a green and white striped fig, much like the panache does. But then as the fruit matures, the fruit itself goes black, and you have this beautiful kind of black and light black kind of variegated fig there. Now, it also has excellent reviews in terms of taste, so there's not a lot of figs, and in fact this is extremely rare in Australia. I would imagine that there would be only a couple of people in Australia that have this fig in their hands, and even in the US, where it's more prevalent, it is still not a very common fig over there. There's a couple of different black variegated varieties hanging around. This is a Spanish variety. It's meant to be a very berry-like flavour. It's meant to be delicious, and in fact many people who have tried this fig have claimed that it is perhaps the best fig that they've ever tried. And this isn't coming from general public who don't really know that there's hundreds of different varieties of figs. These come from fig collectors who live and breathe figs and love all the different varieties out there, and many of them will claim that this fig is one of the best tasting out there. So this is $200 stick. When you buy fig cuttings off of places like eBay or through trading or however people get their figs, there is a risk that you don't get what you pay for, because it's impossible to know what this fig is until I put it in the ground, and then I put some leaves on, then it grows, and it eventually fruits. Until that time, which can be 12, 18 months down the track, you don't know if this is a $200 fig that you paid for, an ultra rare variegated black fig, or if it's a brown turkey. You just don't know. So there's always a risk involved in this. The cutting itself looks quite nice. So it's a short cutting. I like to see them a touch longer than this normally, but there is several buds along here. So there's plenty of points for the roots to form, and there's plenty of points above the soil for the leaves to form. Now, I'm not going to put this one in a clear cup like I normally do, because I have probably lost, if you watch my previous video, I probably lost the Black Madeira, which is a fig that I was really looking forward to after I transplanted it. I want to start this one in a slightly bigger pot to get going, so that when it hopefully roots out like all my others have, that I don't then have to transplant it too soon. Now, there's a risk when you put in a bigger pot to start with rather than a cup. There's different risks. You can have pockets of dry soil in there. The soil temperature can sometimes be a little bit colder inside, which can slow down the rooting speed of the cutting. But at least for this cutting, I'm going to put it in this pot here. It's 135 by 140 millimeters. It doesn't have a literage, but I would imagine it's about oh, here we go, 1.5 liters pot. So decent sized pot. This will keep this fig going for at least a couple of months. So just like all the other cuttings that I've done and the 360 video that you probably watch, I'm going to treat it exactly the same. I'm going to cut off the bottom so we've got a nice clean heel at the bottom. I'm going to give it some slices down the end, so when I do that, we are exposing a bit of the green kind of cambium layer under the bark there, and I'm going to then put some slashes in it along the way. And I don't know if this is a real thing or not. I don't know if it's in my mind or if I'm hallucinating or if I've made this up and it just happens to work, but I find that by causing that little bit of damage, and it's a nice cutting, you can see that's leaking sap, so it's very fresh, but I find by putting these scars on it, when we dip it in the hormone, it creates more layer levels for roots to start forming on the plant. As I mentioned in my 360 video, you do create more wounds on the tree, which can lead to rot and access points for bacteria and other horrible things. But fig cuttings in general are fast enough in their rooting that most of the time the roots will form before the wood starts to rot. So dipped it in the hormone like I did everything in. You can see a nice layer of hormone on there. I'm going to let it drip down a little bit. I'm not even get my finger dirty and kind of rub it up the stem. Okay, and then we're just going to put it in our soil. As easy as that. One fig cutting, pot it up. You know, I have some watering cans around here somewhere. Well, I thought I did. Must be outside. I'll water that in. We'll keep it somewhere nice and warm in the tent without too much light, and we'll keep an eye on this one. I know you guys probably get bored of my fig cutting videos, especially considering how many figs I've got. I've probably got about 20 figs, 20 different varieties in this tent at the moment. I really am looking to quite significantly expand my fig collection so that I have all the figs that are available in Australia, all the great ones anyway, and we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how these taste and things like that over time. But this one is now done. We'll keep a close eye on this one for those that actually like the fig videos. And whilst we're on the topic of cuttings, I have an interesting one. This is a cutting from a house that I used to live in and I sold. I actually put this cutting in the ground now September last year, so what's that, 9 months, 8 months, something like that. And this cutting has never put on any leaves. It's really loose in the soil. It's not, I might even unbury it here in a moment, but it's still green. Still got green leaves on it. It's been 8 months in the soil, never put on a single root, and we're still green. It's a holly. I might gently see if it's actually finally put on some leaves. Some roots, sorry. Doesn't appear to have put on any roots at all. It's still just a stick. So how this has stayed green now for so long, I have no idea, with no roots. But it just goes to show the resilience of some plants and having them in the soil. Is it starting to form roots? I don't even know, but I won't give up on it. Put it back in the soil. I might even add some more soil to that in a second. Maybe what I'll actually do is we'll see if we can't salvage this a little bit. Maybe we'll do some slashes on it, dip some more hormones up the stem, and bury it a bit deeper. Maybe we'll get some roots out of this still. But it's amazing that you can have a cutting that is clearly doing absolutely nothing for so long, but still holding leaves and still green. It blows my mind. Anyway guys, that's our video for today. We'll check in on our $200 stick in a couple of weeks. We'll see if it's got any leaves. We'll see if it's vigorous or if it's lethargic, and let's hope that it works. Alright guys, catch you later.